What's one thing you'd never compromise on, no matter how big Henderson gets?
So I think our culture, just our team. I think that the thing that I'm the proudest of is having great people. I promise you, out of the thousands of 5-star reviews, not every one of them were perfect, but they still got taken care of and ended up being a 5-star. So giving the homeowner the experience that they deserve and taking care of them. So keeping the right people in the room.
Hey everybody, welcome back to The Long Game. I'm Josh Sparks, CEO and founder of Infinity Home Services. Today, I'm sitting down with the one and only John Henderson, who's the founder and president of Henderson Roofing in Westerly, Rhode Island. John is an incredibly humble guy who's built a strong business. I partnered with him, I think about 2.5 years ago now, and he's impressed me pretty much every step of the way. He's become one of the quickest brand presidents to embrace all of our systems, our culture, our vision. And in today's conversation, I'm going to sit down with him, walk through his journey about getting into the industry and what the partnership looks like and what it's looked like for the last 2.5 years. So, John, how are we doing, my friend?
Excellent, Josh. How you doing?
It's gloomy here in Wisconsin, which is why I try not to stay here longer than I have to, just the summertime. How's it out in Rhode Island?
No, it's beautiful. Ted finally got some good weather here. It's 75 and sunny.
Did you take the boat out this weekend?
Ironically, it wasn't that nice this weekend, but we did. We did get out there.
Where did you go?
So I'm not a big fisherman, but I've got 2 boys, 13 and 16. And last week, we started our fishing career. So we were getting up at 5 a.m., 3 days in a row, caught a bunch of fish. They had a blast, but now they're hooked. So we take a boat out to a little harbor right off of Watch Hill, Rhode Island. And it's kind of a safe place. And you can take off from there and go fishing.
What are you fishing for?
Stripers, mostly stripers.
Are they good eating? I've never had them, I don't think.
So they want to keep them and clean them and do this whole thing. And I haven't let them do that yet. We're doing this in baby steps because my big thing is I can go to seafood market and get it already cleaned up. So that's our next adventure, figuring out how to cut these things up and we can cook them, clean them.
I went to Alaska last year I went to Sitka, Alaska with like 8 guys. And we went halibut fishing and king salmon and cod. It was awesome, but they clean them all for you. So I had no part of that, but it was unbelievable. We caught like 800 pounds of fish between 8 guys. It was amazing. Yeah. So, well, awesome. I'm glad you had a good weekend. John, tell us, we've been partners now 2.5 years, and I know your story, but I think probably a lot of people don't. So tell us a little bit about how you got into roofing, how you started Henderson Roofing, and just start there.
Yeah, so I mean, getting started right off, even just as a young guy, I always like working with my hands. Roofing wasn't my first choice. As an industry or a trade to get in, I started off as a framer, framing houses with the goal. I went to a vocational school. The goal was to become a builder. So we did a lot of framing. We'd go out and frame a house, side a house, roof a house, a lot of simple houses. We kind of faded into doing some pretty big, complex projects. But as you get older and your body starts falling apart and you started having to look for some different ways for income. Built some spec houses, some custom homes, kind of fell out of love with that. It's a lot different when you're building a house and you're there for a year with a customer and you have to really, you see how things change. We had a custom home that we were building. We had a deadline. We were on time. Everything's great. You come in after a weekend. Very nice guy. Says, I got good news and maybe bad news for you. But my daughter got engaged over the weekend and we're having the wedding here in August. And it was like, now all of a sudden you're pushing the closing date a month ahead. It's like, it was just a lot of things out of your control. So we started phasing into the roofing because we looked around in our market and saw that there really weren't that many good roofing companies, if any at all, to be honest. And we saw a lot of fragmented roofing guys, just in a pickup truck. And we saw that we could actually, do it and make a living,
Yeah. So you're building houses. How, are you putting the roofs on to like contractors in the market, or how are you getting your own roofs done?
So we use subcontractors. When we started out, I was using my own guys doing the roofs myself. I would be up there. And it's
I'm saying back when you're building houses, when you're building them yourself.
Oh yeah, we would do them ourselves.
You were framing?
Yeah, we would frame and do the roofs and everything ourselves.
Were you the one up there pounding shingles?
Oh yeah.
All
Everybody
right, man. It's
likes
going to be
to,
very controversial because we're in the roofing business, but what's your favorite shingle?
whatever one we can sell today.
I love it. I love it.
We partnered with GAF at a point, again, maybe 15 years ago, and they really did support us really well. And they were looking for a partner in our market that was going to provide, sell the warranties and put out a good product. So, we've had a good partnership with GAF for a long time. We're doing, decent amount with Owens Corning too, and recently a little bit with Tanco.
How many homes a year were you building when you were kind of your biggest as a home builder?
So we were never that big. When we were general contracting stuff, the most I ever did was 2 or 3. When we were framing houses, we were really framing some big houses, 8, 9, 10,000 square feet. So we might be on that job for a year, framing it, doing all the exterior trim. But again, our crews were getting old. We had some good guys, but as you get older and older, you can only do, you can't keep up. Guys are retired, like moving on to other stuff. And it's just hard keeping a crew.
Yeah. Yeah. You see that in every trade, essentially. I mean, it happened for the last 2 decades, really. You've seen it more and more difficult for, to hire kids that are coming out of high school, and everyone has to go to college these days. They're told not to go into the trades. They're told to go get a business degree and make $200K a year, and it just doesn't happen half the time. So it has been tough finding people. So you had some of these carpenters and people building the homes kind of retiring, and then you start finding roofing. When did you kind of make the full switch to roofing away from building?
It's funny, that was a tough thing for us because it was what I knew. And we had built relationships with different architects, general contractors. So kind of hard to just finally say, no, we're not doing this. So I was fortunate. One of the guys that he was my boss when I got out of high school, came to work for us. So we kind of faded out. We had a couple projects going where he would run those projects and I would kind of jump in and out, and I kind of branched off. I just started doing the roofing on my own. So, found a good crew that I could use. We started with a roof a week, and felt like that was awesome. And then, these guys want to work. All of a sudden it's 2 roofs a week, 3 roofs a week. And from there, we kind of got the confidence to just shut down the construction side and go all in on roofing.
When did you start thinking like you were framer, building houses, making some money, like this is a real business? Like at what point in time did you start thinking Henderson Roofing was a real business that you could take care of your family, take care of some of your community with?
So it's funny you say that because that's where part of the transition into the roofing is you need a roof. You're going to do your roof. So it was kind of get you through those economic downturns, So if you're not always going to go build a new house. So we had, I was fortunate enough that my father-in-law was a contractor. So, this was my wife grew up in the construction world. So they really knew a lot. They've been through these ups and downs. So when we first got started out, we were doing a lot of work for him, and we learned a lot. Yeah, we learned a lot of how to build a house from scratch. My brother-in-law and I worked together. My wife got in there to do the tile and painting and stuff. But again, we saw you have a couple kids, things start changing. I was never afraid of height. Walking riggers are doing this. All of a sudden, you start thinking, I can't really afford to fall. I can't afford to get hurt. So it just changed. It was a weird mindset to change. But once we really started rolling with the roofing, you could see that it was more getting a process in place and systems in place. You weren't just waiting for somebody to call you and say, can you build my house? It was more of we're going to go to market and take the business that's out there.
I love that. I think a lot of contractors go through this kind of fork in the road. It's like, do I want to continue to push hard in the trades, or do I want to do something else? And I think you had that experience. What was it's funny you mentioned climbing ridges. I remember I used to do these 3-story jobs, like in Milwaukee, there's a lot of these kind of 2 and 3-story duplexes that are 12 pitch like this, 40 foot to the gutter. We'd have a wooden ladder. I climb up there with just toe boards in, no safety, no fall protection. And of course I was only like 25 years old. So I thought I would bounce when I hit the ground. How seriously did you take safety back in the day?
Yeah, no, that's, we've had some accidents, we've been pretty fortunate. I think I was probably 20. I was, a year or so out of high school, and I was on the job site, got shot in the back with a Paz load spike, clipped head nail. all the way into punctured my lung. And I'm like, I'm making $10 an hour, and then 2 weeks later, I'm back in the job, I stepped through a skylight, fell through, and I'm sitting there saying, what in the heck am I doing?
Were
Is
you,
this
you guys
really
playing,
worth
were
it?
you guys shooting, holding the safety and pulling the trigger, shoot each other?
No, I was holding the ladder for my boss and he then put the gun down. I was very fortunate and didn't hit me in the top of the head though it thumped the whole way in there. So that was definitely something that you get a little more respect for the tools after a couple of those episodes.
I nailed my thumb to the roof one time because I'm going with the nail gun across and the hose got caught in my tool belt and the arc came down right where my hand was and bam, and it hit me right on the thumb and I had to take a hammer and pull my thumb that was nailed into the roof back out. It was brutal. It was brutal.
Yeah, no, it's definitely safety is way more important to us these days than it used to be.
Well, and I think when you're dealing with yourself, if it's yourself up there working, it feels different. It shouldn't, but it does. But when you're profiting as a business owner and you're making money off of other people's labor, you can't take that at all for granted. You've got to seriously step up your safety game, which of course we do at IHS. But okay, so roofing business is doing well. You're growing a couple $1 million in revenue, $4, $5, $6 million. When do you kind of seriously think about? Well, actually, how did you even get introduced to IHS? And what was your thoughts on PE early on?
I was very naive to it. I didn't really, getting emails and they kind of seem like spam, like, hey, you ever want to sell your business? And to me, I'm thinking, what is this worth? It's not really worth anything, But I was contacted. I want to say it was more of a headhunter type guy that had reached out to me originally, and I finally said, yeah, let's hear it out. So it sounded good, sounded interesting, but I again didn't really understand the whole process of what it was. I know our company probably became a little bit more valuable to PE accidentally because maybe about 6 or 7 years ago, I feel like we're talking about all the doom and gloom getting hurt, but I had a heart attack and I'll never forget getting airlifted to the hospital and you're thinking, man, what's going to happen with my family? What's going to happen with business? What's everybody going to do if something ever really happened? So we were able to then really build a business. We had hired a business coach. We had 2 friends that had used this company and they really helped us focus on that process and the company could run without me. So getting a general manager, getting a sales manager, being able to, even the accounting manager, like building that out, it was out of like fear for me to do that, but it was really the best thing we ever did.
You hired some incredible people, which I know very well now. When did you start making those hires?
So the general manager, Jared, was a big one because, I know you're a big reader. That book, Rocket Fuel, was a big eye opener to me. I'm definitely more of a visionary than an implementer. And Jared's an excellent implementer, gets stuff done, where I'm scattered all over the place other times. I have these ideas, but actually getting them put in place. So Jared's probably been with us about 5 years now. Being able to take, we started doing, once you get over $10 million of revenue, there's a lot more to it. And for me, it was always a lot of risk. You're always we don't have an HR department. We don't have, I barely made it through high school. I don't have a college education. My wife doing the books, and it's more scary. You're afraid you're going to make a mistake and get a letter in the mail from the IRS where you just didn't do something right, So getting those people in there in the last, say, 5 to 7 years really made a big difference for us.
You mentioned you don't have a college degree. How much do you think a college degree would have helped you in building the business you have today? You ever thought about that?
I thought about it, and because now I've got 2 kids, and you're trying to direct them and help them to make decisions on where to go. They're 13 and 16; they're so young. But so I probably wish I took some business classes, even just more basic business stuff to understand the books and accounting a little bit better. We basically money in, money out, cash in, cash out, and you were hoping some was left over. Our motto used to be fake it till you make it, and that had to change once we started growing.
Yeah, it is interesting. I didn't go to college either. Well, I guess I technically went. I registered and spent a couple months there, but certainly didn't get a degree. Kind of learned the hard way through growing up in the business. But yeah, you've got kids. You want to give them the best opportunity to succeed at life. and a lot of people are directing their kids away from the trades. My oldest son is, I think, as you know, he's at West Point. He's golfing there and going to get some great leadership. And my 17-year-old, he's not sure what he wants to do. And so it's interesting as a parent, it's like, do you want to force him to go to a 4-year college and try to get some degree and a couple $100,000 in debt? Or do you want to have him get out there and get in the trades? Because, if you're a hard worker, if you're industrious, if you're willing to go out and grind every day and you're disciplined and not motivated, you can win in this business. And it's interesting, as a parent trying to guide your kids. So we start talking, right? So I think it was Paul who reached out to you. Love Paul to death. He reached out to you and we start talking about a partnership. What was it that intrigued you about IHS, aside from the financial side of, taking care of the family and the people there? What were you concerned about, and what were you excited about?
Again, I've thought a lot about it. Once you get into it, all of a sudden you're listening to all these podcasts on private equity. They're good and they're bad, and then you're afraid. One of my biggest concerns was we have a team. Culture is huge for us. I always talk about when we were framing houses, I was in the field every day, and you get that one guy who's a pain in the butt, and you're driving to work in the morning like, I can't believe I got to deal with this guy today. Hope he doesn't show up. But you know what I mean? But you need bodies to do this stuff. We've built a culture and a company where we really enjoy being around everybody. And I was concerned that there would be a lot of change. It's one thing for me to say, oh, no, who's going to change? But I just was really, really thinking about my team and what's the best for them. But with that also in mind, I feel like the backbone of IHS supports us so well. I felt like I was doing a disservice to my team if I did not do this, because, to have that HR team, to have the marketing team, to have, everything put in place now, I really feel like the careers that people that are working here are much more secure and stable. It's not just a job where they're going to come in and say, I'll do this until something better comes along. And they're really invested in it. And again, I think that's a big part for me. I felt like I had to do it for them also.
Yeah, I love the way you said that, John. I think that makes a lot of sense. When you're building a small business in a local market, and there's a lot of different pressures that you have as a business owner. Do you want to continue to invest in the CapEx? Do you want to continue to expand? Do you want to continue to take the risk all on your own shoulders? Sure, you can provide some upward mobility, but if you partner with like an IHS, it is much more. I guess the career path is much more defined. It's you can continue to grow Henderson, but you can also potentially come and work on a regional team or a central team, and really continue to expand your career. So I do love that part about what we're building. You're an incredibly humble guy, John. I remember when I first came out, I do these CEO welcomes right after we made the partnership, and I think you said something along the lines of, I'm like, how are you guys doing things so well? And I think you said something like, we have no idea what the fuck we're doing. We're just doing it. And you were just like, it just works. But in saying that, you've almost tripled the size of the business since we partnered with you 2.5 years ago. You have adopted all of the systems that we have at IHS, and you've done it very, very smoothly. And your business and your people are growing. How do you juxtapose that that kind of strong humility of like, hey, we're just doing whatever, with this real strong adoption of technology and process and systems? Like how does that work?
We were really ready for some major changes. I feel like to do 2 million is one thing, and then you get to 4 million, and there's like these pain points, and you get to 5 million. And you got to decide if you want to coast there or not, but to keep growing. And we were at that point where we really needed a new CRM that could keep up with us, keep up with what we were doing. Just things of that IHS were offering to us and will support. I think we were ready for it, and our team just latched straight onto it. And that's a huge part for us, I think, the growth. And again, years ago when you had to go buy a truck, you're like, hey, I got to go buy a $60,000 truck for the sales guy I just hired. I don't even know if he's going to do good. Now we have a budget. We sit with Dello, we have a budget for the year, and you look at it and you have it. You're not, flying by the seat of your pants. The confidence that you make these decisions is backed by numbers and again, by a team of people that are saying, hey, do this, do that. It's going to work. And I think that's really been good. I think when we were in Dallas, when we got up, we had to come up with a game plan, say, hey, how are we going to grow? And we said we're going to hire 2 more salespeople and another PM. We hired 2 great sales guys, and we just get a good more chunk of revenue to come in. And a lot of again, when I originally spoke with you, and then, they were offered beta, I'm saying, man, I called a bunch of guys from IHS, and I just said, I want to hear the one thing that you don't like. Give me something bad about this. You know what I mean? Because everybody was so pumped. And nobody had anything. The only thing that Ryan Falco told me is like, hey, if you like walking into ABC with your name on your shirt and telling everybody it's your business and kind of stick your chest out. And it was just funny because the week before I was in ABC with Jared, and I have hardly been in there. So I'm cashing something out, and the guy says, oh, nice to meet you. You're John. I was like, no, that's him. Like that the least of my concern was having my name on a shirt, So just talking to the guys, you really do feel, you feel like you're part of a group of the best, truly. They're like yourself and Ryan and Paul, like those guys have built such phenomenal businesses, and they're roofers, but they're business people. So it's like, you really do feel like you're part of a great team.
I was going to ask you, what surprised you the most of joining IHS, but it sounds like that might be it. I mean, just the connection maybe you've had with the different BPs.
Here, I always try to play well with other roofers in our area, try to communicate and just be friendly. We never badmouth anybody, talk trash about anybody. I'd rather be friends than anything. And I think having IHS has truly been a great resource. We had that hailstorm last year. We never had a hailstorm where I'd never even seen hail damage. I don't know what it is. Josh Bell jumps on a plane from Premier, comes out here, gets the sales team in a meeting, goes over his process. I was talking to Josh Uhas this morning, and it's just over a year, and it was about a little over $7 million worth of work came in from this. Do I think we would have gotten all that without Josh coming out? Absolutely not, because the storm guys were here, and he gave us the knowledge to really get out there, get after it. So really appreciate the support that comes from everybody.
I remember you called me after that storm, and you're like, this is in my backyard. I don't want to lose to any of these people. Like, this is my town, this is my neighborhood, and you were out putting signs in the yards.
No, it was pretty intense, it's in Bell, the guy who'd done this all over the country. So he's like, careful, it's an adrenaline rush. So there was a little spurt there where we were going crazy and trying to win jobs, and we did pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's why you guys are so successful, John. You hire the right people, you hire on character and culture first. You have the visionary and you have the execution side of the business. So you think about the world the right way, and you're able to execute on the things that you think are going to be the better, will better your business. And from the outside looking in, I think this is exactly why you guys have been so successful in everything that you've done. So how has your day-to-day shifted in the last 2 years?
That hailstorm really, really rocked us. It put us, we were understaffed to be able to put that much more sales into the pipeline, but we've been able to hire some more guys. For me personally, it hasn't really changed much. I'm doing the same thing. I know in the past, people have said like, well, what do you expect for change? I know when we were acquired, we went away for a couple of weeks, came home, and I'm kind of waiting for the phone to ring. I'm waiting for somebody to show up and start telling me what I got to do different. I haven't had a boss since I was 20 years old. So you're like anticipating somebody telling you what to do. And like a month goes by and I'm like, forget about it. Nobody's telling us what to do, So it was a very, smooth transition. It was really anything that we needed. It was because we asked for it. And so really, really smooth transition for us.
So in kind then, so what has it been like balancing, some IHS initiatives that we're trying to kind of get on the same page across a platform while keeping Henderson, unique, you keeping the kind of that same culture in the building? Like, how's it been balancing that, or has it been tough at all?
I don't think it's been tough. And again, it's one of the things that you're thinking in the back of your head is something, what's going to change? Again, I think the only thing that we've got is support. We've been able to have the support to continue to hire those that we need. To be able to pull up some new greenfield locations and to spread out and get some new building, just the space that we needed to have room to grow was huge. And I think a lot of the staff has appreciated that. Now they see the growth and they're involved in it. They're part of it. Everything's been honestly, it's been pretty straightforward and easy. No real surprises.
Any like one or two challenges that you've faced since our partnership that you've had to overcome? Anything big?
Honestly, I can't think of anything big. Again, we were looking for this stuff. We were looking for change, looking for, help. And again, they say, if you're not growing, you're dying. We felt like we were kind of maxed out where we were going to be. I really didn't want any more risk or liability. If we kept going the way we were going, I probably would have been doing less or in sales because we had coming out of COVID. I think everybody was doing pretty good. But things like the pod process for production has really been helpful to us. We've got CRM, we've got, now we have the HR support, the marketing support. You're not just, when we were doing marketing, but when COVID hit, I just stopped everything because I felt like it wasn't working. And fortunately, COVID carried it through that. But like, you're really just winging it. So now I just feel like we're directing our blows in a way that is accurate and making sense.
Yeah, it's interesting being able to run, when you're a small business, you're running pilot programs and you're testing your marketing just by yourself. But when you've got a network of 25 other brands who are piloting different programs and seeing what's working, what's not working, they can bring those things to you, having already tested them, which is obviously always helpful. You waste less money in doing that. If you had to go back, John, 5 years ago, before this partnership, before Henderson started really blowing up, what would you tell yourself?
I probably would have told myself we're doing better than I thought we were, and just pay attention a little bit more to the accounting side of it and the business side of it. Again, we were just trying to take care of our customers. We were trying to grow the business. Even things, again, I think this partnership has really given us the confidence to do stuff. Right when we had first joined, we were in some of our meetings. They were talking about how some of the brands were a roofing company and they didn't do much siding or windows. And slowly they've turned to doing just as much siding and windows. We're seeing the same transition now. So it's like, hey man, we got to do the same thing. Let's keep going in that direction. We never advertised for it. Now we're advertising for it. And now we can't keep up with that side of it. So again, it's just been getting out of that day-to-day in the field mentality and getting in the office to see, work on that business. Again, we were fortunate. I know a lot of guys out there, they don't really run a clean business. We've always had everything on the up and up. And it's, I think that's something that I would, guy come to us now, but, keep your books in order and be honest, because that's what's going to benefit you in the long run if somebody wants to partner with you.
So if you had any advice, I asked this of everybody, if you had any advice for other owners out there right now that are maybe considering selling or maybe even not ready to sell yet, but what advice would you give them?
Again, it's funny how many people reach out to you now, competitors, all of a sudden they want to know what's going on and if, what they should be doing. And I think over the years, we've been more so recently starting to hear some stories where people made the wrong partnership. And I was really, really, I felt comfortable after I spoke to other brand presidents in IHS. I would recommend they go talk to people in those groups and see what really did happen after they were acquired. I think that's something that would really make me nervous. And I think I felt very comfortable with the group that I didn't never even talk to anybody else, to be honest with you. I did homework on some of these other companies. And I just felt, being with the group of guys that are running businesses, but actually have been in the field and they know this, to me just goes a long way. So I would just tell guys to be careful who they partner with. Maybe not everybody's a perfect fit for IHS, but if you get with the wrong company, you're going to really be in trouble.
Yeah, that's a great call. The term or the phrase "do your research" got kind of burnt out during COVID, but it is interesting. We're starting to see what I guess bad PE can be in the space right now, and you are going to see some troubled companies in what you're starting to see them already, and you're starting to hear the regret that some sellers have now for subjecting their people to the other side of the bad side of PE. So I echo that completely, John. Make sure you're spending enough time understanding exactly what you're partnering with, because the money will fade, the people are still there, and you want to make sure that you're doing right by your people and your customers. So, anything I missed, John? Anything you want to? Anything? Any other advice? Anything that you want to tell the people?
No, I'm just we're happy to be here. I know every time we get together and we have our quarterlies and whatnot, I get more pumped up to see how it's grown and see how, the new companies that are jumping in here and how everybody's working together. So it's really a shot in the arm every time we do that.
I've got this poster that says, work hard in silence and let your success be the noise. I never did any kind of shows or these industry events, and I wasn't exposed to the roofing gurus of the world until I started doing this partnerships. And it's interesting because guys like you, John, don't typically go to those types of events. I think humility is incredibly underrated in this business, and leaders who grow the fastest usually aren't the loudest. They're the ones who are willing to kind of sit there and say, I don't know, but I'm willing to learn and willing to grow. And I think you've modeled that very well. So I appreciate having you on. But before I let you go, just a quick fire round. What kind of coffee do you drink?
I've done a black iced coffee kick for the past 3 months, but usually just black coffee.
What's your favorite job site gear?
I'm a big fan of the Equipter. When we bought our Equipter, I was on the roof, so it was considered one of my best friends.
Wonderful. A business book that everybody should own and read.
So tough. I really like Find Your Why. Really helped you to get an idea on exactly what you want to be doing. Some great examples in there. Great Game of Business is a good one, getting everybody invested. And I think that's worked out well to have our team really invested. What's the other ones? There's a handful of good ones in there. Oh, the Rocket Fuel, I think, was great. Again, getting the right people in the room, not being the smartest guy in the room by any means, but bringing the people in that can get the job done.
I love that. I love Simon Sinek, Jack Stack are both great.
Extreme Ownership too. That was a good one. I forgot about that one. That one I think tried to get everybody to read that one. It's, it just sounds stupid, but the little things and that's what we've always said, the little things. But when you go to the shop and you leave something there, leave it in a place that if somebody comes behind you, they're not going to be ticked off because they got to move it or do this or that. And I think that's part of a culture now. Everybody's taking care of the little things and thinking about everybody else. So I do like the extreme ownership.
Something customers care about more than contractors realize today.
I think communication is the biggest thing. I think the unscrupulous contractors, there's so many of them out there that are doing such a bad job, and I've set the bar so low that they're ready. Customers, if something doesn't go right, and things don't go right every time, but they're so ready to jump and fight. So the quicker you get back to somebody and say, hey, no, we're going to take care of it. We're going to make it right. Whatever it is, we got a bad review over the weekend. The holiday weekend, guy leaves a voicemail on Friday night that he has an issue. Saturday morning, bad review. Nobody's called me back. And you're like, so it's like, it irks you. So it's like you get on the phone as soon as you can, but now it is fine. But if they want to know, people want to know. They want to know that you heard them and that you're there to communicate. So,
what's one thing you never compromise on, no matter how big Henderson gets?
So I think our culture, just our team. I think that the thing that I'm the proudest of is having great people. Talk about reviews. We thrive on reviews. We talk about it all the time. We tell people we're not perfect, but and I promise you, out of the thousands of 5-star reviews, not every one of them were perfect, but they still got taken care of and ended up being a 5-star. So giving them the experience, giving the homeowner the experience that they deserve, and taking care of them. So keeping the right people in the room.
I agree wholeheartedly. John, I appreciate your time today, my friend.
Awesome. Thank you, Josh. Appreciate it.
Hey guys, I hope you could feel the quiet confidence and humility that John carries. It's not just how he leads, but it's how he learns. It's a reminder that wisdom isn't loud. The people who've really done the work usually don't need to prove themselves. They're too busy listening, learning, and growing as people and business owners. That's the example that John gives us. It brings to mind one of my favorite lines from Marcus Aurelius. If someone can prove me wrong and show me my mistake in any thought or action, I shall gladly change. I seek the truth, which never harmed anyone. That's the spirit we're chasing here at the long game. Curiosity, humility, and a relentless pursuit of getting better. So this week, ask yourself, where might I be wrong? And what can I learn if I stay open? Until next time.